Hi, I'm Freddie Gateley from vocalbooth.com. We're here at the NAB Show 2024, and I'm here with my friend.
Hey, George the Tech.
That's right, George the Tech, the definitive tech. And I wanted to bring George along here because today we are talking with Earthworks Mics. We have Nick from Earthworks Mics via Zoom. The magic of technology. He's here with us at NAB 2024 in our booth. Good to see you, Nick.
You guys too. Thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. It's our pleasure, man. So the reason George is here, too, is because George introduced me to Earthworks Mics. I'd heard about him before, but when I was talking to him about, we are really looking for a good microphone company to pair with for our vocal booths. And when we're looking at somebody to pair with, it's got to be kind of like vocal booths. We're looking for quality. We're looking for also just awesome performance, but it also can't be something that's incredibly expensive. And that's where George says, dude, you got to check out Earthworks. The ethos that he was using, he said, this microphone is a microphone in a class all by itself.
And we also like that you guys are also American-made.
American-made, yeah, U.S., all based in the U.S. So that's also important. That's the way our company is. That's the way the company that we're sponsoring with are and stuff too. So we're looking for smaller, kind of, no, I don't want to say cottage industry because definitely not a cottage thing, but
boutique.
Boutique, yeah, exactly. Without the boutique price tag.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So, really quickly, just keeping to introduce it, what we got going on here is we have two Ethos microphones in here. And what these would be is a really good alternative to an SM7. And unlike an SM7, these ones are phantom powered, so you don't need to have any kind of a signal booster or anything in line, so like a cloud lifter or anything. Yep. They sound great. You just plug them in and away you go. And the thing that was amazing is the amount of frequencies that you actually capture. Like whereas some of the other Shure mics and broadcasting mics, they have a very...
They fall off at the top. You don't get the articulation and that real nice detail.
Right.
And these just... I love that these, you can be a little bit off axis, but at the same time, they have incredibly good rear rejection.
Mm-hmm.
So like they will reject reflections and background noise, but you don't have to be like a shotgun mic. You have to be in this really tiny sweet spot, which is tough for a lot of actors. This one, you can physically move around this microphone and it sounds... Yeah, you sound like you're always on mic.
That's what I couldn't believe as I was doing an interview with somebody on Zoom one day, and I think I had to grab something off my desk, but I was still talking to him, and oh man, with the other microphone, you're gone.
You just fall
and
away,
then I was all the way over here and still talking. I'm like, I can still hear my voice really, really good. I was back over here, so that's really important for a lot of voice actors and people who are doing stuff in their booth. Because number one, we want them to be able to spread out and use their arms, and there's just a big difference in that. But then also to not have to eat the microphone the entire time. That's what impressed me about these ones, and they look rad.
Yeah, I want to ask Nick. So I've known about Earthworks for a really long time because of the studio microphone pedigree. They're always known for extremely, extremely accurate pickup, like instrument grade, like just really incredible. How did you guys make the transition from making studio instrument grade mics into something that turns out to be an awesome podcaster and broadcast mic?
That's a really good question. And it comes down to two things. First off is simply just that's where we saw the market going. 2020 is when we launched the Icon, the USB, and its XLR counterpart, the Pro. Ethos followed in 2021. Obviously, things happened in 2020 that made it so people were working from home a lot more than they were before. And it really comes down to the second thing, which is also the core technology that is in these microphones. We've been around since 1995, primarily in measurement and drums before this, but right now is when we've started to realize, we have this core technology, this impulse response, this transient response that leads to this lifelike capture of sound. We can take that and we can pair it with a phenomenal polar pattern, which is what you guys were talking about before, where you can move around the microphone and you're not going to lose any detail. We can take those things and put them into options for streamers, podcasters, broadcasters, content creators, anybody like that. We can further democratize that access to the sound.
Did you feel like there was any need to compromise on the quality of the mic or the capsule or anything to make it work? Not only in this design, but at the price point.
Yeah, the price point's amazing.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny you mention that too, because the Ethos specifically, when it first launched, came out at around, I want to say $699. And it was through, the popularity of the mic increasing and more people talking about it, but the one objection that they had was it's $700. Not everybody's going to have that in their budget. So we realized, we have this technology. We are able to, our engineers could speak about it a little bit more precisely, but we were able to bring the price down without sacrificing any of that quality. And so we just decided to, I believe it was in 2022, or might have been 2023. Regardless of the date, there was one day where we were just like, we announced, yeah, we're cutting it to $399 because we wanted to have more access. We wanted people to have more access to this microphone.
Yeah. It's unheard of.
It is.
I mean, it's unheard of. It really is incredible. And all I can say is I hope it's a play that's paying off for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. And it's also in tandem with, and I know we'll talk about it in a bit, but with the 117, that's an extension even further of this microphone and our plan to get the sound out to more people, because that right there is currently our most affordable mic in our roster, but also ever.
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, we'll get to that one in a second. Going back to this ethos too, number one, it looks rad. It just looks so cool. You've got this actually, you guys machine out, right? This stainless steel body.
Yep, everything machined in our factory in Milford, New Hampshire.
Yeah, so right there, they're building all those components. And then the foam, too. I noticed right away that the foam is a different feel. This is not just a pop windscreen, but this has got some cool density to it. And you were saying that this is actually like the microphones are tuned with this foam on, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's cool. So you're getting something out that's not just an accessory or just for certain times, but that this is what's just supposed to sound like.
This wasn't an afterthought. It wasn't like, oh, let's just stick a pop screen on one of our existing mics and call it a day. You clearly made sure the tone was balanced with this in place.
Exactly.
But it's cool that you can also take it off. And if you want a little bit different sound, if you want to mic a guitar or an instrument, you can take all that off.
Oh yeah, ethos is a secret weapon on guitar. And it's funny, we were doing an event up in New Hampshire, an open house, and we brought along ethoses to use as drum overheads without the foam on. They sounded just as good as our flagship overheads, the SR25s. It's really a phenomenally adaptable mic. Yeah.
Piano? I bet they're amazing on piano too.
Yeah, and we're going to be putting out pretty quickly, too. There's a whole series that we're working on for putting these microphones inside of one of our amp boxes and then using that without the foam and stuff, getting a more airy sound, and then also, putting that back on and using the SR117, too. So just to get cool guitar tones inside of an amp box. And, I mean, so far, right away, it sounds amazing.
So what I forget the lineage then. So was the Icon first?
Icon
and Icon Pro were first. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. What did you learn? I mean, how do they differ? So I know you have obviously the obvious thing is USB, but you make an XLR version of this too, right?
Yeah.
So how do I decide? What's the deciding point between those mics when you're shopping for them?
That's a phenomenal question. I think it comes down to when we did the Icon and the Icon Pro, we were looking for a linear translation of the sound that you would find in our measurement mics or Omnis or our vocal mic. Like the one that we had at the time was the SR314. We were looking at a linear translation of that clarity and that pristine sound into a USB form factor or into an XLR form factor for someone who was looking for the best mic to have with them on camera when they're recording a podcast, recording a YouTube video, anything like that. When it came to this, what I think we were aiming for was taking that sound of the Icon Pro and translating it to a more broadcaster friendly style. So putting it a little bit more in line with the conventional broadcasting and podcasting mics of the time, but still keeping that standard, that trademark Earthworks quality. One specific point about usage is that the ethos, like we've spoken about, where it's pretty easy to move around and you can get it. The Icon Pro is a little bit, I don't want to say trickier, but it's the Icon Pro takes a little bit more finessing to get like the exact best angle of it. We usually recommend like 45 degrees, a few inches away. Whereas this, it's like you can be right up on it and you'll still sound phenomenal. So
yeah, I know. I love that you can be right up in it and it never gets woolly or mushy or boomy. It still sounds articulate and clear, just a little bit more present, like more. The proximity effect isn't out of control, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
What I like.
Very even, very gentle roll off. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
As you're pulling it up too, that's another crazy thing too, is that knuckle mount that's on already on those ethoses and on the
Huge,
icons. That
That's
thing is
so awesome.
amazing.
It's
That was a
wild.
brilliant idea.
It's so wild you guys bring that up because honestly, when we were first making them, we didn't expect them to be that much of a game changer of a feature. Like we did it in partnership with Triad Orbit, who have been phenomenal, who make phenomenal accessories and stands. But it was once the mics were out in the field where everybody was talking about these ball mounts, and we were like, oh yeah, I guess they are pretty cool. And it's been, I think these days I consider it like a primary selling feature of the mic. It's so nice to have something where you can really fine tune that positioning. Whereas, other broadcast mics, like I put them on stands or on boom arms, and yet there's something about it where it's like, I feel like I have to like jerk the arm around or jerk my entire setup around just to get a usable placement. Whereas this, it's just like, I get it in seconds. It's so easy.
Yeah. If this was hanging on an arm, instant adjustment to position, then lock it. Boom.
Exactly.
I mean, that's such a simple design, but until Triad did it this well, there was nobody doing it. So I will use this knuckle with other mics. The one that came with if I have to demo or test another mic, I will use the knuckle that came with it because it's that good. So
It is good.
I love that. I mean, people don't know that this product alone, this piece, this accessory, is not just an afterthought. These are like $50, $60 retail just for this piece, right? So you're getting that in the packaging. It's really good.
Yeah, while we're on that subject, let's talk about this Icon USB. So, you see a lot of people that aren't going to want to mess with having the whole, the interface, and they might not know everything about, what kind of phantom powers do I need, what kind of other stuff. Simplicity. Let me just plug it in and let it work. Maybe you're doing something quick on Zoom, or even like you're doing something on Twitch, or you just want to up your game on whatever it is, a quick interview or something. This even pairs really well with like our VO1s, where people will pop something up really quickly, Velcro, and throw this thing in the middle, laptop, and boom, you are recording, you're putting out your content. So this one comes on the stand. It's got the knuckle mount. On the back, you can adjust your gain, and then you've got the USB interface and a headphone jack right there. So you've got everything right there. Plug it in. It looks like it comes with two different types of cables as well for a USB, and you are just up and running. So maybe tell us a little bit more. What else we should know about this?
What are the features
icon?
of the headphone jack and all that? How's all that work together?
I mean, you summed it up beautifully there. There's two extra things I'll add on when it comes to applications. One, the fact that it plugs in immediately, and as soon as you're in, you don't have to install any sort of drivers. You don't have to install any other software. It's just good to go. And a lot of people use that mic for remote work meetings. And, we've talked with IT people who are, they don't want to add any other software. They don't want to do anything that might introduce some kind of complexity or risk into the system. Not with that mic. You plug it in and you're good to go. And the other piece of it as well, along with the USB cables that come with it, one of the ones that comes with it is a USB-C cable that plugs directly into iPads for immediate content. So if you're
going to ask that, so this will go right to an iPhone or iOS device.
Yes,
and
awesome.
No batteries, no charging, nothing.
It plugs right into an iPad. For iPhones, I believe it needs the USB 3 to camera adapter just so that it can supply enough power. But once you've got that, you're good to go with that too.
And now that's not a problem anymore because it's all USB-C.
USB-C,
right? Yeah.
So all you need is a USB-C to micro, and you're off to the races. So it's getting even easier. Yeah,
I can attest to that. When I first plugged it in, and that's what surprised me too. I was like, okay, is there going to be a content package or something else that needs to come with it? And it was just like, oh, USB device, use it. Yeah. It was up and at 'em. You're like, oh, that was way easy.
Yeah.
So that's very cool. And again, this microphone is all made out of that stainless steel. It looks killer. I'm
glad you mentioned the whole like using it in offices for meetings and stuff. Because I'm starting to put together packages for what we call C-suite people, CFO, CEO, all the C people, and to have something that the IT department will go, yeah, no problem, you can plug it into our, into our network attached computers and not work, and have it also look killer
exactly
on camera. Like when I set these up for folks, they're not going to be like down on the desk out of frame. They're going to be on an arm like this, and people are going to see those mics.
Exactly.
That's
Yeah.
how you get
You
good
see,
sound.
you have some
mic
CEO
placement.
who's just up there and who's just like has that mic shining on camera. Like it's phenomenal. Absolutely.
This fits the part.
Exactly.
Think of the madmen in New York. You know,
It looks rad,
the
yeah.
ad guys. This is the mic they would have talked into.
Because we all know what a snowball is. I mean, it's cool, but hey.
Or the Yeti.
Or the Yeti, yeah.
No Yetis. Say no Yetis. I'm sorry.
Yeah, the Icon's awesome. And so then the Pro version for the XLR2, what are we looking at for differences for that one?
I believe
just the connector, and that's it.
It's really the connector. It's the fact that it doesn't come with its stand. It's just designed to be used on a boom arm or a stand like the Ethos is. It's a slightly faster rise time speed. I want to say that it's 11.67 microseconds as opposed to the Icon's 14. Other than that, yeah, they're pretty much the same microphone, just depending on connectivity wise what you prefer in your system.
Now we're throwing jargon out there for all our non-technicals. We have a huge audience of non-technical people, especially me. Tell us about rise. What the heck does that
basically
mean?
just it's the speed of the transient response, like the capsule inside, how fast it reacts to a sound source coming in. Which is basically to say that the Icon takes in sound very fast, the Icon Pro takes it in slightly faster. And that leads to a more accurate and lifelike sound capture.
Yeah, it's hard to put it into words what that means compared to an old-fashioned dynamic mic diaphragm versus what this mic does. It can't put it into words. You simply just have to use them,
right?
And use them in both and try them both to understand the difference. You know what I mean? You can just try to describe it in colors and all the stuff. No, just you got to hear it.
Describing sound is an interesting thing. Yeah, everybody's got it. It's almost like describing flavor or something too.
Exactly.
Yeah, that brings us up to this one. Yeah,
yes,
which I'm seeing now for the very first time in person.
Really?
And I gotta say, I gotta say, again, I will keep saying this. Price point. Amazing microphone.
Yeah, right now $199 for that microphone, which
mind-blowing.
It's mind-blowing for what it does. I mean, I wouldn't believe it unless I tried it out. So I was using sometimes for live performances and stuff. I was always trying to find a good sound. I went through all the different beta mics, tried different blue mics, tried Telefunkens. All of them had their different colorings. Some of them were just too sharp. I've got a little bit more of a lower voice and stuff and gravelly when I sing. A lot of stuff just didn't do well with that. I was using even in looking like some Metallica and stuff would use like an SM7 for live and stuff. So I was like, maybe I could try that. I kind of sing in that range. And it was okay, but I tried to do live stuff. I have to put gates on it and stuff. It just was not happening. I was so hoping that when I saw this thing, the Ethos, I was like, oh, maybe I could use something for like live performance.
Yeah,
then I tried it and I was like, oh my gosh, the field around this thing, there's no way that's ever going to work out. At which point the guys at Earthworks were like, no, you got to check out our live performance mic. And they're basically cramming in a super awesome mic into this enclosure, and the rejection on it, it's amazing. For what I understand, like the super cardioid, and has a very small pattern coming out here, and the rejection is great. So when you're right here, I mean, you're pretty much extremely focused on it. It's not picking up stuff from the drums. It's not picking up monitors.
Bleed from monitors and bleed from guitar amps from coming over here.
And before I get done gushing this mic, I wanted to try it a few times at home and stuff practicing, then tried it at band practice, and then I actually took it on a few different gigs. And 3 different sound guys, everybody came up and was like, what is that microphone?
And that's why I wanted to mention this. We talked about this before. Literally,
what is it?
What is this microphone? You guys decided to go badge free, and everybody else is putting huge logos. So tell us about that. That's quite a move.
Yeah,
it's literally SR, which makes you think of the stealth fighter.
Just little tiny.
And it's
just down there.
Stealthy mic. It's only on the bottom, right?
That's a power play, man. That's
I gotta say, that was a bold move.
Thank you, guys.
Awesome.
And I mean, it comes down to like, we knew what we wanted that microphone to be used for, which is in situations, TV, broadcasting, anywhere where it's like, you don't want the mic to be the star of the performance. If you do, then something's gone wrong. You want it to be the vocalist. And we wanted to, it's like you said, it's a power move. It's just like, it's there. It's just giving the sound the best possible sound that it can, and it's not taking any more attention away from the vocalist, because that's who the attention should be on. So we made it with that in mind, basically.
Does it carry over some of the componentry from the other mics, like the diaphragm?
That's a
completely unique design?
I know that Well, it's funny you mentioned completely new design. I'll tell you what the one piece of it is. Well, actually, yeah, if you open it up there, the tip geometry, completely new. No other mic
okay.
until our DM6, our new kick drum microphone, has that same looking tip.
I know it's going to be hard to see on that camera.
Yeah, we'll do a close up.
It's got a depth to it, and then a screen around it, and then another screen. It's a very interesting. Is the capsule in this little tiny ring right here? Is that where the capsule is?
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Oh. One of the big things too is the fact that you'll see that there's like a little bit of space between like the absolute top and then when the mesh starts. Whereas with any of our other mics, you'll see that it's way closer, which in turn gives it a bit more life response. But with that, we managed to pack that same thing into a stage ready condenser handheld with the other big technical advancement that comes with that tip geometry is the best polar pattern we've ever made. It is frankly wizardry how our engineers pulled that off, where it's like it's this weird compromise where it's like, Freddie, you were mentioning before about how like noise won't really get in when you're using it, and yet even with the ethos, it's like I'd say the 117 is in its own way just as generous because you still can move around, and yet at the same time you're not going to get much bleed from any other instruments or anything else. It's the sort of magical sort of thing where it captures your voice and the totality of it, but it's not going to capture your drummer. It's not going to capture any of the amps on stage. It's just going to capture you. And it's wild too. We talk about like adaptability with the mics as well. When I went somewhere to test out this mic, me and my team brought along the guitar tech for One Republic, and he was playing a few sets and like demonstrating the mic. And there just came a time in the afternoon we were like, let's mess around with the mic and just see like where we place it and like what we can do. We ended up doing this mic placement where we took it and maybe positioned it like 8 inches away, aimed directly between his mouth and the whole of his guitar. You could have sworn it was a multi-mic setup for real. Just that one mic capturing all of that. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah. The polar pattern is not something that's been, I mean, correct me if I'm way off base, but polar patterns was not really the thing about Earthworks, right? It was more about Omni.
It was about the speed, and it was about like that, like most accurate lifelike capture that you can get.
Yes.
And the SR-117 still does carry that lineage, but it also does it in a form factor that is cognizant of the expectations of the live performing environment. You know, you have a vocalist. The idea is that we wanted to. It's funny, we have this saying with our podium mics, which is where we initially cut our teeth when it came to speech, that those mics are the best for people with bad mic etiquette, where you can have somebody who doesn't know how to use a mic and they'll still sound excellent on it. This mic,
actually, speaking of people that don't know how to use a mic, how does it hold up to this
totally fine? Totally fine.
It's the worst. It can handle that cupping. The cupping.
It can handle the cupping. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
The cupping, the belly button. Now that explains something too, that what you're talking about, because so for the rejection and stuff that we're talking about is the sound guys got nervous first because they had to roll all their gain back. It wasn't a big, they didn't need a lot of gain, so they were like, oh, that's a hot mic.
Right.
And also they flattened out their EQ because they're like, dang, we
had to start from scratch.
We had to start from scratch, and they're like, barely a bump here or there just for your voice, not for the mic, but we can tune it so easy. Where they were looking at some of those other Shure mics and stuff and just being like, oh yeah, it was kind of all over the place.
They're so used to grabbing these EQ knobs, like right out of the gate. I got to do this, but that's how I always
flatten it and go. Yeah. And then from there, everybody, all the sound guys were worried about feedback, of course. Like, are we going to catch the mains? What's coming in there? And they're like, dang, we're not. We don't have to gate the heck out of it, and we don't have to do those things. But that, you mentioned that of picking up stuff, as I've listened back to some recordings, and I can totally hear my electric guitar strings just barely through this microphone getting picked up as well. So everything in here is awesome. Everything coming out from out there is all rejected and put off too.
I'm gonna piss off RJ for a second. RJ, I'm gonna patch in.
Yeah, let's patch that one in.
So you're gonna hear a little pop. I apologize. Now we're on the SR-117. Is that the right model number? I want to make sure I got that right. And I can't monitor this right now because of our particular rig, but another thing that's real tough about handheld mic design is hand noise, or the handling noise. You guys have addressed that with internal shock mounting, or how do you guys deal with that?
It comes down to the fact that it doesn't necessarily look like it aside from the little ring at the top there, but that's built from stainless steel, just like the SR-314 and all of our other microphones.
Yeah.
So it just naturally has that instinctual low handling noise.
Yeah, and I think having a tiny capsule also helps because
True.
you don't have to worry about that capsule moving as much, right? Let's try it.
Yeah, Kevin.
Yeah. Let's get some of that. You know, they put the cup, they got the thumb going. Well, we'll find out later how
Yeah,
that sounds.
exactly.
But beautiful design, and you guys can hear the contrast. There's not a tremendous contrast, except the fact that I'm holding it a lot closer now, so you're going to get a lot more of that proximity effect, right? So, very beautiful mic.
Yeah, very cool.
Super impressed. I might go out on a limb to say this could be a contender for my endless search for the ultimate voiceover travel mic. Not thought of a mic as a voiceover mic, but these mics are so clear and so articulate and so detailed that they could stand in for a condenser, a traditional condenser mic. And voice actors that travel need something that's robust.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
want to
That
not worry
microphone,
about it getting broken.
it travels so well. Like, I use it for myself. I've got a YouTube channel aside from my job. And when I am traveling places and I think, oh, I might need to do some voiceover for a video I'm working on, I bring that and an interface and a cable along with me. It sounds just as good as anything I do in my normal setup.
Yeah. And one more time, $199.
Price point. It's amazing.
Shop for any of the other handheld studio condenser or handheld condenser mics for live, and you'll go, wait a minute, what? You know, it's remarkable. Yeah. And then try them and listen to them.
And what's wild too is that even with the price, we're not necessarily thinking of it as a competitor to other mics in the $150, $200 range. That thing competes with mics that are $600 or $700. But we've just been able to build it in a way where we can offer it for $200.
Right.
That is awesome. And on vocalbooth.com, you can go on there, you can get these mics. We've narrowed it down to these 3 that we are carrying because it really, Earthworks, they do all kinds of other crazy mics, drum packages, testing mics, you name it. You can find those out there. We've narrowed it down to these 3 microphones that we're going to offer. It pairs very well with what our clients are doing. Works great for voice, works great for performing. So check those out. Again, vocalbooth.com, you're going to get one shipped right straight to you. Also, as part of a recording package. If you want to put that in with one of our Silver Series or one of our VO1s, it pairs beautifully with our products. So we're super stoked to have Earthworks, have found them. George, thank you so much for making the connection.
Yeah,
Nick, you guys have been outstanding, awesome to work with. We love what you guys are doing. We love your products, and you guys are great. So
thank you. You guys are great. Thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. Take care.